Yes, guys, how are you? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. We got 92 minutes left of the transfer window. 92 minutes left. And it has just been announced that we do have a here we go. James Wilson of Hearts, 18-year-old young talent has joined the football club. Not what everyone wanted, not what anyone was expecting. How on God's green earth have we been prioritizing that today? How on God's green earth have we been dealing with a player who's on loan, by the way, a loan with an option to go into our under-21 team? How has that been the priority of Johan Lang, Vinay, Thomas Frank, Paratici? I mean, he leaves tomorrow morning. He's on his first flight out. He's probably already there. He didn't care. Fiorentina have been doing business. What is going on? It's an absolute disgrace, guys. It's an absolute disgrace. And you know what? We're going to get an apology video or some excuse. It's difficult in January. Well, it hasn't proven to be difficult for everybody, has it? It hasn't proven to be difficult for teams that have, say, 2 additional injuries, 3 additional injuries. They can go and find replacements. You know, Nottingham Forest lose a goalkeeper. They go and find a goalkeeper. Spurs, we've got 14 players out injured. And our priority on deadline day was to bring in an 18-year-old for our under-21 team. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. It's an absolute. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. Like if anything happens between now and 7 o'clock, then I'd be amazed. I'd be absolutely amazed. The fact that they're spinning this as we've like gazumped Arsenal. We've got in front of we've hijacked from Arsenal. One back. Eze did it to us, or Arsenal did it to us with Eze, so we're doing it with the kid. That's not really the truth at all, by the way. It's not the truth. Fabrizio Romano has come out and said, I'll show you what he said. James Wilson to Tottenham. Here we go. And by the way, the kid might be great. I've had a look at him on YouTube. I haven't bothered on the Y Scout. I've got some information about with you. And, I mean, look, the way it's being spun. James Wilson to Tottenham, here we go. Deal in place for Scottish 18-year-old striker to join the project. Arsenal were offering a trial, while Spurs offered a loan deal with a buy option clause, now agreed with Hearts. Medical happening now with formal steps next. Should we have a little look-see at who this kid is? In fact, before we do, guys, we're streaming to both channels tonight. Johnny's on his Holly Pops, and he's on the plane. I know he tried to do a video this morning on Football Inc., and he said that he had some disaster with the computer or whatever, and so he had to cut it short. So I just thought I'd do this to both streams. I will be talking about all of the transfers, although there's not a huge amount of transfers to talk about, to be entirely honest. There's been nothing in the Premier League today, absolutely nothing. Just a couple of loan recalls, and obviously this one now, as far as I can see from Sky Sports. There's a few bits going on around Europe, but it's been the biggest damp squib of a January window I've ever seen. Like, it's been terrible. It's been absolutely awful, not just at Tottenham, everywhere. But Tottenham, I don't care about everyone else. I care about Tottenham. I will be talking about everyone else because Football Inc. is also a part of this stream today. And don't forget, guys, if you are watching on this stream on Spurs Talk Show, please do. In a minute or two, you'll start to see the stream elements links get plugged in. Please do follow us on all of the socials and also Football Inc. as well. OK Jersey sponsoring this and also Football Inc. So if you're watching this on Football Inc., then you can also, just so I can show you there, you can use code FINK at checkout, or you can use code Sean at checkout to get yourself 8% off of your clobber, whatever you're looking for, unbranded, branded, old school, retro. You know how it works. Best quality, best value in town. Thanks to them for the sponsor. So code Sean or code FINC and get yourself bargains. 8% off already. Unbelievable prices. But I mean, honest to God, guys, honest to God. First of all, I'm going to come and say hello to you all in a minute. It is insanity. But let's have a little look-see at what this guy James Wilson, who he is, right? So obviously he's a youngster, a fresh-faced Tynecastle talisman, but he turns 19 next month. He's had very little senior football to offer up as an explanation behind Arsenal and Tottenham's interest in signing him. However, that's not to say that he isn't a prospect that deserves a potential move to a big English club. The centre-forward first started making waves in Hearts youth teams, where he bagged an impressive 14 goals and 6 assists in just 26 games in the Scottish Lowland League. The 5th tier of Scottish football at just 16 years of age. He then began the following season with 5 goals in 9 league games before earning a call up to the senior squad. Over the course of the rest of last season, Wilson picked up 6 goals and 3 assists across 32 largely substitute appearances, averaging a respectable 0.53 goals per assist per 90 of football, and notably scored a dramatic equaliser in the Edinburgh derby against Hibs. However, Wilson's impressive rise to prominence in Scottish football hasn't just come about solely from his performances in the Maroon of Hearts. The young striker also worked his way through Scotland's youth teams, bagging 8 goals, 14 games, yada, yada, yada. I mean, look, I've had a look at him. He looks, I mean, honestly, I don't know what to say. It's kind of irrelevant. He's not going to be at Tottenham. He's coming into our youth team, I believe. That's what's been outlined. He's coming into our youth team, and we have an option. So we are loaning a player from Hearts to put in our youth team to then maybe buy him in the summer if he does well. And we are focusing on that. We are focusing on that rather than getting something done with, I don't know, anybody for the first team. Obviously, we woke up this morning to the news that at Cluj, well, there was like sudden little whispers of maybe there's something can happen here because they went and signed Simon Adingra from Sunderland, ex-Brighton player. I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense. That makes sense. And look, it might still materialise. But then other people were saying, well, actually, that's to replace the guy that Monaco sold to Al Ittihad for 35 million quid. You know? I don't know who that player is or what position he is. I think he's a youngster as well. I think he's 19 years old. But it's an absolute disgrace. It's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. I mean, what are we supposed to do for the rest of the season? What are we supposed to do? I feel like there's going to be a song. I feel like I might bring the guitar out. It's too late to apologize. It's too late. I don't know what to do. I don't know. In fact, I might be able to play it. I'm sure those chords are pretty easy. What is it? It'll be like this. You tell me that you love me, then you go and cut me down and say, yeah, it's too late to apologize. For fuck's sake. If he comes out tomorrow morning, Vinay or Thomas the Tank or any of these people saying, yeah, we tried, worked better, tried this difficult market, we are sorry. Don't apologize, bro. Don't you dare apologize. I'm going to give you a backhand, a digital backhand. I don't want to hear this shit. I need signings. Right? It's not that difficult. You know, listen, yesterday's point was fantastic and we're going to talk about that, right? But what on earth has this window been? Again, like, forget about other teams not getting business done. Forget about it. Because they haven't got 100 players out injured. They haven't got their bench full of 16 and 17-year-olds. In fact, James Wilson's probably going to come into the first team. He's going to be on the bench. You know, he's going to be on the bench. Alongside fucking Mason Melia. Dice club. Where's my wig? Absolutely embarrassing. We got a super chat from Sparky Pete, Grumpy Pete _Grumpy. Don't apply for X Factor anytime soon. Big up to you, mate. Big up to you. So there is to do nothing, says Bourbon Buzzard. I mean, it's just utterly Utterly disgraceful. Oh, Saba wants to come on. Saba just finished his show, has he? Yeah. Saba can come on. Come on over, mate. Come on over. I thought you were live. I just saw We Are Tottenham TV putting out listen, don't ever come at me for clickbait. Don't ever come at me with shameless titles accusations when they go live with the name of Spurs beat Arsenal starlet or whatever. What are we doing here? Content's got a content. I respect the hustle. But listen, if you're going to call me clickbaity, you're going to go after them too. That's the story, right? That's the standard. Not asking for much, just consistency. Now, should change for Tottenham have waited until today? Well, not that it matters now because we haven't got a game for another 2 weeks, but at home at least. Or have we? When's the next game? Manchester United, that's away, isn't it? And then we bring Newcastle and Arsenal back, don't we? So it's going to be a while. It's Saba said no point in streaming, and now he's coming over here. Big up to the Saba raid. Big up, my man. Is he here? He's not here yet, no. I mean, look, I don't even know. There's not a hell of a lot to talk about apart from the abject atrociousness of what our club is up to, And yet, apparently, I wasn't at the game yesterday. And I know a lot of people that are like the hardcore ENIC outers. I get comments in my stream every day now, in my post-match things going, you've got this weird obsession with criticising change for Tottenham. Nothing of the sort. I support them. I want them to do better. I want these guys to figure out the method to actually translate the apathy and the frustration of what we see online. I know we all are fed up and pissed off. And I know that 85% of people that are in this show and probably 95% of people that are on other channels, hate our owners. Right? I get it. Totally get it. After another disaster class. But it doesn't translate to people, who go to these protests. And online protests are not the same, right? Vinay doesn't watch this shit. I'd be very surprised if he was to watch any of these sorts of content pieces. I don't think they do. I remember Jamie O'Hara. I saw Jamie O'Hara had a conversation with Rory, the Chelsea guy, on TalkSport. And someone who'd phoned in had said that he talked about the guy Turkish from AFTV. Right? Turkish is a very well-known content creator. Jamie O'Hara and the other guys in the show, I don't know who that guy is. Don't know who he is. I think a lot of people, obviously we surround ourselves in this environment, but a lot of people don't. And so how do you get the people that are how do you get the people that are pissed off online to translate into things that are visible at the stadium, where it becomes more apparent that the fan base, the match-going fans, who are the real revenue source for the football club, are unhappy? And I think that one of the ways to monetize, I said this yesterday, I think that the Change for Tottenham or something like them need to monetize the frustration. Don't ask for a lot of money, but if there's a lot of people that feel that way online, big up to Saba. Let's bring him in. Hi, Sab, how you doing?
Are there any words? Are there any words? I don't know.
I don't know what to go, mate. I listen. I put off doing streams all day because I was like, nothing's happening. There's nothing to talk about. But I was like, it's still deadline day. We got to rock up at least for an hour. But it's thank you for the raid, by the way. It is. I mean, it's just. It's abject. It's so bad, mate. It's so bad.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they'll point to this, there's not that many teams that have done things, but there's not that many teams that have got the amount of injuries that we have. And by the way, those that do fixed it.
Yeah.
Right. Aston Villa had injuries. They went and brought in a couple of players that fixed their injuries. Nottingham Forest lose their goalkeeper, Victor, John Victor, whichever way around it is. They bring in Ortega. No one's leaving themselves in a completely desperado situation going into the final 4 months.
But even right now, Sean, you look at the teams that are in and around us, they're all right now. Forest are in talks with players as we speak. Palace are in talks with players as we speak. And I have to always caveat this because it's YouTube. I'm not saying I want the players that they're after, Sean, but you've got to give credit that their owners and their recruiters are still actively fighting and trying to get players over the line on the last day of the window. You know, Forest have been super active again, haven't they? They tried to get Fratesi. They do. And then you look at us, and then with an hour and a half of the window to go, talk about read the room, Sean. Talk about
100%.
read the room.
Mate.
Like, and I feel sorry for this kid.
Who the fuck at Tottenham has spent all day long trying to convince an 18-year-old from Hearts to join us over Arsenal?
On loan with an option to buy. We didn't even buy him. We've loaned him. We've loaned a kid that's not starting for Hearts.
Unbelievable. To go into our under-21 team, by the way. Just to go in, it's just part of the project. Is this because Johan Lang was given the role of being the youth team, or like the kind of like the youth identifier, and then so he's still doing that shit? And Paratici, who was supposed to be the kind of first team guy, his mind has been elsewhere since October. Mate,
I just titled my video, I couldn't be as shameless as we are Tottenham TV. Like Spurs, someone read it out on my show. It was Spurs hijack Arsenal or something to, it was something ridiculous. Like my title, right, was no signings equal Lang must be sacked. But by the way, this isn't just Lang. Like, I have no idea who is running this club anymore, Sean. I have no idea who decided that no one out there in world football was good enough to help an injury-ravaged squad with 13. If Solanke's injured, I believe it's currently 13 first-team injuries.
Yeah.
And we've decided that no one across world football is good enough to help us out of this situation. They've gone to Michael Bridge about 9 times today at the Spurs training ground, and big up to Michael Bridge. But he's gone, Spurs are very clear. They just don't, they don't want a quick fix. It's got to be the right and I'm like, sure, but we also need a squad. We also have a lot of long-term injuries, and we're not doing very well. I don't know, mate. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? It's ridiculous.
What's the biggest player that has moved that we probably could have gone for had we tried? Had we really had the players? Sorry, had the recruitment team kind of had consensus and said, we all agree on that one. Let's go and get him. Obviously, we wouldn't have got Gahey. We wouldn't have got Semenyo. Do you think we could have beaten Atleti to Lookman?
Well, I think Atleti weren't in for him until they've had a couple of injuries. Is the only reason they've moved at the end of the window. So he's been there all window. So transfers for me are all about timing, Sean. So if you're going in for a player when no one else is going in, I think you're going to be okay. If you're going in for a player when Man City and Liverpool and Arsenal are all going for him, you're going to lose that battle. But Lookman definitely won. I fail to believe that we couldn't have got, just using, for example, a Curtis Jones if it were done early in the window. I fail to believe that we couldn't have got Akliouche at all. And
the rumours were that Tottenham, like Monaco, were waiting all month, expecting a phone call. And I'll come back to that in a second. It begs the question why, Sav, right? And I genuinely think that it has to be something around this consensus, fucking idiotic portfolio of like people that are making these decisions. Too many cooks. Like if you get to a situation where you need consensus and you need it from Vinay, Frank, Lang and Paratici, despite Paratici like having his head turned and going elsewhere, if they all need to agree when they all run with different KPIs, if it's like, I don't know, I'm speculating here, but do you think that part of it is like, well, they've gone, Rob McKenzie's gone, how about Lookman? And Vinay's gone, what do you think, boys? And Paratici's gone, yep. And then Lang's gone, no. And then Thomas Frank's gone, not really. And then they go, no. Okay, next one. Like, do you think it comes down to like just too many? Like, you need one person to make the fucking mind up and go, guys, like, we need someone. This guy will do, right? And then other people to go, all right, then. But I just got this horrible feeling like there's some rule of thumb there where everyone has to be on the same page, and they're not going to be because they all have different competing interests.
Yeah, it feels like this is a jury rather than, sorry, not
Yeah.
a jury. It's look, I think you called it. Look, we did a video back in, must have been September, and it was the I think I called it Lang and Paratici, the dream team, and we were talking about what could possibly go wrong with it, what could go right with it. You were bang on. You said it just can't work. You got two people with two very different ideologies, two very different philosophies on how football should work and what the type of signing should be, and that lasted 3 months. We're sitting here now, and in this transfer window, we've signed 2 teenagers and replaced Bentancur. And again, it goes to show you, doesn't it? It goes to show that Spurs are very good when an opportunistic signing comes around, i.e. Kudus. West Ham didn't have any money. Go, right? Richarlison, remember at Everton? We're Everton, deeply in debt. We'll take him for, right? We're good with those deals. When it's proactive, we only seem to be proactive with the youth.
Is that because that's what Johan Lang is still here, and that's what he's good at? Well, that's what he thinks he's good at.
Well, Sean, have a look. Right, in the last 3 years, if I'm not wrong, Tottenham Hotspur have bought in Ashley Phillips. No, let's start. Kinski, Ashley Phillips, Vuskovic, Sosa, Melia. I was going through position. Bergval, Gray, Yang, Odeber, Tell, Valise is 11, Wilson is 12, right? I feel like I'm missing somebody.
Was Lancashire in the last 3 years? I don't know. Was Lancashire in there?
No, I think Lancashire was probably a little bit before. But the point is, I keep hearing Jonny and Lubo keep telling us this is the greatest young set of Spurs players in generations, and yet we've just gone and bought 12 children in the last 3 years. What are we doing?
Mate, I got sucked into that a couple of years ago when I was doing Devil's Advocate with Jonny and Dave. And these guys both obviously like watching the under-21s, and they're like, "Oh, this is our own class of 91, class of 92." I was like, "Really?" And they're like, "Yeah, they're so good. We got this guy, that guy." And like 3 years later, and none of them are broken through. I mean, Junai Byfield maybe is one, and that's just because of circumstance.
But this is the problem, right? When you break it down, you've now got all of those I just mentioned. Now add on top of that Donnelly, Moore, Williams, Barnett, Byfield. Like, we are starting to get to the point where it's like, wow, I've just named 17. I know Odeber's a bit older now. I've just named 17 teenagers other than Odeber, right? I've named 17 teenagers, right? And so we're either saying these youth players are nowhere near good enough that we've got to buy on top of them, or that that's not the case and that we don't want to buy senior pros and that our philosophy is these youth players. If that's the case, knock down this stadium and rebuild White Hart Lane and don't worry about making revenue. Because this is getting beyond a joke, isn't it?
When Mateta was available, and I said, he's miles better, in my opinion at least, he's miles better than Richarlison. We need to go and sign him. I had people on Twitter going, mate, he's 28, 29 years old. You've got Bentancur, who's 31, Maddison, who's 30. And I'm like, sorry, is the argument here that our squad age is too old? Is that what we're doing here? Is that like, are you saying no to him because he's past it when we've got 400 under 21 international, under 21 players? It's bonkers. But you can't please some people.
Whenever I have the debate with Lubo about all these young players not getting a chance, as I always say, the problem is you're buying in all these youngsters that are stepping over the youngsters that are already at the football club. You're now in a position where what we're seeing every window, you've seen it today. How many youngsters have left today or joined? Like, we're constantly just seeing lots of these young players going in and out. And I don't mind that. But I truly thought that when they changed philosophy in the summer, they wanted sporting success, that wouldn't mean we get to the very first window and another 2 teenagers are signed. And it's not about them, Sean. I'm not having a go at Wilson.
No, I know. These poor people come in and go, fucking hell. I'm not wanted here. It's not you, bro. It's nothing to do with you. I hope you're okay, Mr. Wilson. I hope you have a good career. It's just the circumstances, buddy. It's not what we wanted right now, but all the best. Good luck to you.
But
then, yeah,
okay, so we signed Wilson.
These players, don't they?
Right, we signed Wilson, right? But everyone keeps telling me that Melia is meant to be this world-class, brilliant young 18-year-old. They all want Scarlett to get a game. They're also telling me that Will Lancashire is going to come back from. Hang on, hang on.
Yeah.
And then what will happen is, you know it. Richarlison will leave the club this summer, and we'll just backfill him with like Wilson or Melia. We won't even bother signing a striker.
Do you know what the worst thing though? We were speaking about this earlier on the phone. Is that had Tottenham signed an Akliouche today, or had they signed a Fratesi or whoever, right? Then I also feel like there is a psychological conditioning where for some reason people think that deadline day transfers count for more, like they're more valuable or they're more exciting or they win people over because it's one that's coming in late. But in reality, deadline day transfers, especially the later you go, all that does is guarantee that you're in all likelihood massively overpaying for someone, that you're also in all likelihood panicking, and it's an opportunity and it's not by design. If you had a strategy, you wouldn't wait until the 2nd of February with an hour to go to try and name these players, to try and sign these players.
Sean, we talked about this on the phone earlier, didn't we? Right?
Yeah.
If you rock up to a club for their first choice player in a position. So if I rock up to name any club and I go, right, we want your star left back, right? And you're on deadline day, that club's going to turn around and go, no, like I can't replace him. If you try and attempt at the beginning of the window and the player kicks up a fuss and I do want to go, you give the opposition time to be able to say, right, okay, at least we can go in the market and try and find a player.
Yeah.
This all comes down to plan. Again, plan. So I always use Akliouche because he's the name that's been mentioned for 2 windows. If Spurs want Akliouche, you can rock up to Monaco on day 1 of the window and go, hey, we've been speaking to his agent. He wants to join. Here's 50 million, whatever the fee is. Yeah. Here's 50 million. And they might go, you know what? We'll let you have him. Give us 2 weeks. We need to go and find a replacement. Once we found a replacement, you can have him. And you go, fair. But this whole, Spurs might go in on deadline day for this player and that player. It's just absolutely shocking. And again,
it's really bad.
No
bad. What do you think is the reason? This is what I'm trying to get my head around, right? I can't believe that Tottenham's owners or the recruitment team have been sat there just twiddling their thumbs all summer, all autumn. I mean, maybe they have, right? But the reality is that it's been the worst January window, not just at Tottenham, but across the board, right? There's been really very little. But I've got the list of the biggest transfers here, right? So you've got from Arsenal, Zinchenko, City, Stefan Ortega. Oh, this is chronological. Sorry, Lucas Paqueta, obviously a big one, but he wanted to go home. Apparently, he said that Tottenham were in for him. So, we wanted to get Paqueta. Again, now that screams of going after a player that, I would have no problem with Lucas Paqueta. I like him. I think he's a good player. But you could have figured out a long time ago that he wasn't interested and wanted to go back to Brazil. Oscar Bob. Right. In terms of, Adama tried this, Douglas Luiz, Rayan, obviously the replacement for Semenyo. There really isn't any sort of major ones, are there? Apart from Gahey and the early one for and Semenyo, right? That's basically it. There's not really that much going on this window. No big names have really moved.
No, but there isn't. But then you have to ask yourself though, the reason there's probably not that many big moves is how many of the big clubs actually need to do anything. Like if you're going to be brutally honest, right? Arsenal don't need to do anything. I mean, Arsenal fans will probably go and shut up, Savvy. You don't know our club, but let's be fair. Look at the squad they've got.
Yeah, they're fine. Yeah,
Liverpool. Liverpool have gone and bought Xhaka for the summer. That's a big signing that's going to be completed today, ready for the summer. But again, Liverpool have got so many good footballers, right? You look at Chelsea. Chelsea have got so many players, and they're always moving parts. Aston Villa have replaced what they lost, haven't they? And Donny Marlon Donny Marlon's gone out. Abraham's come in, and then they've lost a couple of midfielders, so brought in Luis on loan. But We
Yeah,
needed to.
and we've replaced one player that we lost in Bentancur with a player that's probably an upgrade on him, and it fixes a little bit of a homegrown issue maybe. But apart from that, nobody's lost as many players as we have in January. They're falling like flies.
Sean, let's have a look at this, right? Since January the 1st. I'm laughing. It's a nervous laugh. I'm not laughing at Spurs, everyone. It's just a nervous laugh I've got, right? Since the 1st of January, Sean, Tottenham Hotspur have lost Scarlett on loan, right? They've lost Brennan Johnson, who's been sold, right? Dorrington's gone out on loan, right? And injury-wise, we've lost Bergvall, Bentancur, Kudus, Richarlison, Ben Davis, Pedro Porro, Van de Ven, Romero. Obviously, those two aren't long-term, but Van Romero.
Spence.
So Spence. So that's 7 to 8 long-term injuries.
Yeah.
2 or 3 players that have left on loan or been sold. And we've brought in a left back at 19 years of age and Conor Gallagher.
And an 18-year-old now.
Like, what is, like, Brennan Johnson was sold, Sean, right? Ellie and I were looking at this in the pub yesterday, right? Brennan Johnson was sold on the 2nd of January.
Yeah.
Right? It's now the 2nd of February. Now, I don't care that Brennan Johnson's gone. The Palace fans don't rate him at all. I think we got good money out of it. But it was then compounded on the 4th of January when Kudus went down injured against Sunderland. That means, for if I'm not wrong, if my maths work, that's 30 days ago, right? 30 days that we have not attempted, from what we can see, to solve that both those right-hand players we started the January window with have gone. I know Kudus is out for 4 months, but we've got neither of them.
4 months is the end of the season.
Yes.
Right? And we are 9 points away. And by the way, it was only because West Ham fell apart and Manchester City fell apart that we wouldn't be 5 points behind going into this next 3 absolutely horrendous games. I still don't think, I know people feel relegation is not going to happen. I don't know. We haven't won one game.
I'm one of them. I don't think it will, Sean. I don't think it will.
Maybe not, but we're certainly rolling the dice, mate. If we were to lose, lose any more injuries, if Mickey Van der Ven and Romero were to take long-term injuries for the rest of the season, which, let's be honest, it wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me, right? And if Solanke breaks down again, which is entirely plausible considering he's now going to have to play pretty much 90 minutes every game, like, what are we supposed to do? Dane Scarlett starting, Junai Byfield at the back against Club Brugge or Atletico Madrid or whatever. Like, it's to me, it's absolutely mental. And like I say, it is. We are where we are. I need to understand. I need everyone in the chat, and I need you, Saba, to help me understand what it is and how it is that this club have allowed themselves for the PR right now to look so bad. Like, I genuinely almost think they shouldn't have got that guy Wilson, because it almost looks worse.
Yeah, I agree.
That the optics that you've spent deadline day trying to beat Arsenal, who only offered a trial anyway, to a guy who sits on the bench for Hearts, who's 18 years old, to come and play in our under-21 team. Like, that's where your attention has been on deadline day. That's what you've been doing today. Like, what the fuck is going on?
I wish I could help you out. I don't know the answer, right? I don't know the answer. What I do know, I think you've frozen a little bit there.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
No, that's all right. It's a good image of you frozen. I just checked, right? Since the 1st of January, Spurs have played 9 games, right? 9 games. And we've not attempted to bolster that squad. Bearing in mind, Sean, we needed to bolster the squad before these players started falling like flies, right? We needed to bolster the squad for what we didn't do in the summer. Yet, when your own manager is telling you we are weaker than when the window opened, right? That is when, for me, all alarm bells should forget which players you and I rate or don't rate, right? Forget which manager we rate or don't rate. Alarm bells should be ringing now as to what are we doing as a club that allow themselves to be weaker than when the window opened, right? And I would get it if all of them dropped like flies yesterday. you could turn around and go, oh, well, that's hard luck. But Kudus went down on the 4th. Richie went down very early in January. Brennan Johnson was sold on the 2nd of January, right? Pedro Porro's been out now for about a week and a half. We've known.
By the way, in that Brennan Johnson thing, like you said earlier, they want Brennan Johnson. Cool. Yeah, we'll do that deal. Just give us 2 weeks. No. Palace said we need it done today, and then Vinay came out and said sometimes you have to sell players when there's an opportunity to do so, otherwise the opportunity's gone. You haven't replaced him. You've had 4 weeks. You've had 4 weeks to replace him. Listen, I've got to do some super chats, and I want to come back to this story. I've never seen a super chat as big as this in my time doing. I've got to start with that one. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
AJ SY9SR. My man, I don't even think I've seen you before. Thank you so much for that. It's like the most generous super chat ever. Don't know what I've done to deserve it or what the channel's done. It might be on Football Inc, by the way. I don't know. We're multi-streaming, so if it's for Football Inc as well, then
AJ, is that to be split between Sean and I? Is that what?
Mate, he says Scarlett leaves and we bring a boy in that's nowhere near as good as him. We don't get in the Hearts team. Oh, he doesn't get in the Hearts team. What the hell is going on? I mean, yeah, look, we're talking about it, mate. It's like I say, I don't really have any time for Dane Scarlett myself. I think Dane Scarlett has failed on 4 or 5 different loan deals at a variety of different championship level teams. I know he's one of our own, but I do think people have sort of rose-tinted spectacles about him. To be fair, I used to say that I didn't think that Dane Scarlett had ever really put in a bad shift whenever he played his few minutes for Tottenham. Like he seems to do okay in the Europa League last year. He scored the against that team from. Where was that team from? Was it Holland or I can't remember where it was now? We got the first goal, and all 3 of the kids got a goal that day. Mikey Moore, him, and Ajayi got one as well. Like he's in another game as well. We did a great little flick on for an assist, or for a key pass. So I was kind of like, you know what? Maybe his loan deals. But at Tottenham, he always seems to wear the shirt with pride and does well. This season, when I've seen him come on, I see him just float around doing absolutely nothing. So I don't mind that he's gone. That doesn't really bother me. It will only bother me if we actually lose, Dominic Solanke, which might happen now because of the amount of pressure we're going to have to go through with minutes. But obviously, you can put Matisse Tell in there. You can put Kolo Muani in there. So I don't think we're bringing this kid in to actually play in the first team. If we are, I mean, I don't know what we're doing. Someone said in the chat he's going to be in the World Cup squad for Scotland. So maybe it's an ROI play. And that makes a lot of sense. Whoever, James, I think it was, said that. But AJ, mate, thank you so much, mate. I hope that wasn't just a fat finger on your part, mate, where you're going, oh my God, what have I done? It was only supposed to be £1. I really hope it wasn't. I can't refund it if it was, unfortunately, because it goes via YouTube. But, mate, thank you so much, my man. Really, really generous and very, very grateful, man. That's unbelievably generous. Big up to you, buddy. Big up to you, my man. And London, big up to you, mate. He says, Agent Vinay must explain this horror show immediately. Nightmare window with the injury crisis. We gave the keys to frauds, Langer and McKenzie. Yeah, listen, Rob McKenzie for me is right up there on the accountability list. No one talks about him. Everyone goes after Johan Lang. Everyone goes after Vinay. Everyone goes after Levy in the past. Everyone goes after the owners. Everyone goes after the manager. But you know what? The person that's paid to find the talent initially is Rob McKenzie and his team. He's the guy that profiles them. He's the guy that goes to Johan Lang and says, what about this guy? What about that guy? What about the other guy? And you don't need to be a scout to know that, to know that Semenyo is going to be a good player, or Jarrod Bowen or Akliouche or whatever else, right? So maybe his job is primarily to go and find the Sousas and to go and find the James Wilsons. But I don't know. Either way, his profiling has been terrible, and I think there needs to be more focus, more scrutiny of that guy and whoever else it is in his team. Because I'm not a football guy, but I spend about 45 minutes a day looking through Y Scout, and I could find a few players, and I don't get paid to do it. If these guys are professional scouts, they should be able to find some better players. There's a guy called Eza Abda, who I think it would be perfect for Tottenham, who can play off left and right wing, could have got him for 30 million euros, plays for Real Betis, comes from the Barcelona Academy, an absolute talent, 24 years old. Those are the sorts of players that I think scouts should be able to find. They're already proving it at a top level. but they're not like the obvious names on everyone's shortlist all the time. That's where Tottenham can go and find value, you know? We didn't do it. Big up to you, Ant. Telestro TBK says, we are a business first, football club last. Yeah, you know what, man? It feels like that's part of the conversation at the moment. Well, not at the moment, always is, isn't it? A lot of people are speculating whether or not we're just holding our money back because the owners they've had enough, you know? And I think listen, it's going to be interesting what happens with that whole Wing Fi thing. If there's truth to that from the Bloomberg article, is he going to come in? Does he come in, pay off the Levy disappears with his billion? Wing Fi comes in and says, look, we've got more money behind it. We want to be a bigger part than 30% though. We'll go to 50-50 and then we can all put money in and take this thing bigger. Don't forget that Wing Fi is part of Triller Group. Triller's trying to move from like a B-Tech version of DAZN. Maybe their foothold in the market is trying to sort of get themselves ahead of a potential opportunity to become the platform that does the Netflix for sport thing in the future. I don't know. But yeah, the business side, there's so many questions right now. It's an absolute disgrace. Big up to you, Telestro. Super Spurs TV. Big up to you, Blaine. Another massive, generous one, man. Thank you so much, buddy. I hope you're okay, mate. Hope you're feeling better as well. He says, so do we think that anyone in the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust are going to pull up the board on the barefaced lies that our fans have been told? It's just puppets for ENIC Tavistock from top down. At least Romero had the balls to call it out. Be interesting to see if he calls it out again, won't it? I still don't support my personal take. Listen, you haven't got to agree. No one does. My personal take is that it's not for the players to be publicly outing the ownership that pays their salaries. I don't think it's professional. I think it's a terrible look. I think it sows the seeds of discontent and it creates division. He's more than entitled as captain of the football club to raise his discontent with the situation behind the scenes. And I'm sure he has many times. I'm sure his agent has as well. I personally don't subscribe to this notion that it's a good thing that Romero does these things in public. I think it makes the club look worse than it already is, right? It makes the club look worse than it is. And I don't think those things help. Similar things to like, you know, the fans booing, right? The fans booing the players, the fans booing the manager. Does that stuff really help? I don't think it helps. I'm not saying that you shouldn't boo. I think you should be able to boo if you want to. You pay your money, do what you want. But like it makes you feel better. But does it actually sort of generate a solution that is going to invoke what you want, which is a better version of the football team? Probably not if they think that the fans are kind of against them or not swimming in swimming in their slipstream. But at the same time, I totally get it. I just don't think that the players, the employees, should be doing that stuff personally. I don't. Big up to you though, Blaine. Thank you very much. Grumpy Pete says, we need so many players. It's a joke. And our DOF spends the whole of January looking at more kids. I'm not going to say that than a certain ex-singer. I don't know why I'm struggling to say that, but I swore like an absolute sailor all night last night on on the post-match show. So that's too many of those bloody those magnums. Big up to you, Pete. Yeah, listen, you're right. Listen, I think we're all in agreement, right? Senior players were the necessity, not kids. And I genuinely do think that the PR that we spent today trying to figure out how to beat Arsenal to a child is really poor. I think it looks worse. I'm sure the player might be great, but I genuinely think that it makes it look even worse that was our priority today of all things. Big up to you, mate. Phil P, big up to you. Hope you're okay. He's done the super ticker. Choo-choo to you. Thank you, mate. What else we got? And a user, big up to a user. He says, Vinay and the Muppet crew will pin it on Frank. They likely have a summer replacement ready, will be their excuse. You want Levy gone? Now you've got Vinay. Well, that's an interesting. Let me ask you that, Saba. Thank you very much, mate. Do you think, Saba, that I like to wind people up, right? When I was like, oh, you wanted Levy gone, like, Levy was never his fault. It's really just sort of like a wind up thing, right? I'm just a bit of that sort of guy. I don't genuinely think that you can judge whether or not Levy wasn't the problem or was the problem after 6 months of him not being here, right? Of course, it's far too soon. And obviously, like the problems that people think existed whilst he was here haven't been changed. But even if he was the problem, then those things wouldn't have been able to be changed. It's a ship, turning at sea takes a long time.
Look, it's too soon to tell anything after one window. However, I think the problem for a lot of people, Sean, is probably that they wanted to just see something this window, right? Just show us a little green shoot that they were going to act differently. And in a way, I don't know if you agree with this. They've had a brilliant opportunity that even if it wasn't your chairman, Daniel Levy, that was the problem, they had a brilliant opportunity to make the world think that it absolutely was, right? They had a brilliant opportunity in this window to go, oh, well, it was Daniel. Look how we're operating now. Look, we're different. And unfortunately, I'm going to say this, and I don't think many people are going to agree with this, Sean. This is the worst window I've seen at Spurs in the Premier League era. Now, that might make people go, well, hang on, we had some windows where we didn't buy anyone. But contextually, Sean, at least in the windows when we didn't buy anyone, we had a bloody good 11 and there was no depth. Right now, the context is they are seeing a struggle. They are seeing massive injuries again, like the second, third year in a row. And again, they have not addressed it. So at the moment, you would have to say, yes, I think Levy was obviously a part of it.
Sure.
But ENIC have got to be the driving force behind this, because if Levy has gone, surely you turn around and go, right, guys, for our PR, by the way, we've got a brand new marketing director, haven't we? Or a head of PR marketing. Yep. Surely you'd want to say, right, come on, guys, this is the first.
Wasn't that person also from Arsenal, by the way?
Yes.
We've got a new head of communications and a head of marketing, and one of them came from Arsenal.
Yeah, that's right. One of them did, yeah. But you would think that you turn around and go, right, look, for the optics, which are really important in the world, and especially in business, for the optics, let's show these fans something. You know, let's go out and get one signing at least this summer where you go, okay, yeah. Now, what we're being told now is that was meant to be Semenyo. And we're hearing that the money we were going to throw at it was going to be astronomical and brilliant. But to answer your question in a long-winded way, mate, at the end of the day, nothing's changed. And if anything, this is worse. If anything, I think this is worse. Frank will take the brunt of it. We know he will. As did Ange, as did Conte, as did Joe. Any manager will take the brunt of it. But if you're a Spurs manager right now, inside, how are you feeling? Inside, you are thinking, look what they've left me with. Like, how are they not supporting? If you're a player, how are you feeling, Sean?
Yeah.
We need bodies. You're not supporting us. You're not supporting the manager. You're not supporting us. As a fan, how are you feeling? They're not supporting the fans. So what was their aim for this window? What was their aim?
Well, I mean, this is the thing, right? So, you said Frank's got to take the brunt of it. Again, I'm just going to throw a hypothetical at you now.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, I don't necessarily feel this way at all. I'm just going to like chew these things over. I know people are always going to sit there and...
You're going to say something you don't mean?
Yeah. Well, no, I'm going to say something that I think needs to be potentially considered.
Sure.
And then we'll see. Like I say, go you want with it. If Thomas Frank is part of the recruitment team, and for whatever reason, 50 names, 100 names have been offered to the recruitment team by Rob McKenzie or whatever else, and they've gone around the houses, and then they've got to the point where they're at, where they've gone, these are our, he said, we've got player 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in every position on the pitch, right? So we're going to go after them where we can. Difficult in the January, fine. If position 1 was Semenyo and he went to Manchester City, position 2 was Fofana, for example, and they knew he was injured from October and he was going to be out until March. So you scratch that off. Position 3 was Yandy Amandi, and they spoke to Leipzig and they said categorically no chance he's leaving in January. Cool, scratch that one off. Position 4 was Keenan Yildiz. Well, he's looking like he's going to sign a new contract. We're not going to sell him in the summer or in January at all. Either way, cool, scratch that one off. You start to get down this list.
Yeah.
The same with everything else. Then at the same time, the injuries are piling up. At some point, Thomas Frank, if he's aware that he's going to take the brunt for it, and ultimately, if he has to sit, if he has said, Johan Lang says, I rate this guy, what do you think? And Thomas Frank says, no, I don't rate him. Like a Lookman, for example, I don't want a dickhead. Yeah. Then you are essentially getting to the point where you now have to live with the consequences of those decisions. Sure. You now have to get from February the 3rd until May the 15th with what you have. So even though Thomas Frank might be a recipient of a bullshit model where you've got too many cooks and the stupidity of directors of football that are co-owners of the same role, which was absolutely insane from its get-go. If Thomas Frank has co-signed that whole relationship, and then he is part of the vetoing community in that group that says yes to one, no to another, and unless there's consensus, no one gets anything, then Thomas Frank, he might not be here in the summer, and in all likelihood, because there's no signings coming in, he doesn't get to wait for the next opportunity to get the player that he wants. He should have taken what he could get, because ultimately some players out there might not be perfect, but they're better than what we have. And if it costs him his job, then it is slightly on him in that, like, as in that hypothetical that I'm painting, where he did have the right to say yes and no, and he said no to too many players. Then he is to some degree responsible for the situation we're in, right?
Yeah. Look, I think it all depends, right? I think it all depends. There's two ways of looking at this. One, Frank's come to a bigger club and is thinking, I need bigger players, better players. Or two, this is a manager that's never had that luxury before. You know, at Brentford, they would have always brought in players at that level that he could coach, that he could upskill, and that was scouted brilliantly. Let's be fair, Brentford scout brilliantly, as do Brighton, as do Bournemouth, all these clubs. I can't see, and this isn't for people say this is me sticking up for Frank. I can't see though that Frank has had good players put in front of him and he's gone, nah, not that one, not that. There's going to be some players, sure, but I can't see that he's ever been in that position before where he's that character. Now, I think if this was a Jose or a Conte, I could see it. I could see it, right? Because those boys have worked with the best. And I can't see it with Thomas Frank. I can't see that Thomas Frank isn't an astute enough man to see the problems we are in, the lack of depth we've got. And I just, it's only my opinion. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I just fail to believe that he's sitting there watching this all pile up and batting away transfer options. I just fail to believe that he's going, nah.
Fair enough. I would agree. It doesn't make sense, right? Because he knows that he's on a very short rope.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it gets shorter and shorter every time you say no, because you're then left with what you've got, especially when you see all these injuries piling up. So then the alternative is there's someone else's cop blocking his decisions. He's saying, yes, get me him. And then one of maybe the other two, Vinay or Paratici, have got their own little squabble for status, and they're not in agreement, which, again, at some point, Vinay's got to put his big boy pants on and then make a decision. And as far as I've seen so far, he doesn't seem to have the stones to make a tough decision. So that's a problem.
I think it's more about what you said earlier. I think it's more about what you said earlier, that in terms of that players are being put in front. And again, I always use this as Akliush. A couple of them have gone, really good. And a couple have gone, is that the right profile? I don't know. All I know is that it's yet another window where this is happening. And it starts to become more and more difficult to blame managers, right? And if I have in the past, then I apologize. If you have, I'm sure we've all, whatever. But it's starting to get to the point where this is now the same, whoever the manager is, that you've got to look deeper than that. And this goes back to what we said the other day in a conversation. For me, we are screaming out for a Ranić. We are screaming out for a Monchi, for a Campos, we're screaming out for somebody that says, you know what? Hang on.
I know how to fix this.
Yeah.
Let me have it. But even if that's possible, right? Even if that's possible, you bring in Ralf Rangnick's currently Austria manager. He's taken them to their first World Cup in like 6 attempts or something. Yeah, I think that's right. So you go and get him, and he wants his guy Nagelsmann, right? They're like joined at the hip, and he's the guy who's Germany manager. So maybe both of them are going to be out of work by late summer. Let's say that that's the solution. In order to be able to give someone the keys to the kingdom and strategize where everyone goes, okay, and the fans for sure would say, whatever Ralphie thinks is the best, I'm cool with that. Yeah. For that to happen, you need Vinay to be willing to hand over the keys of the decision-making on the football side. Yeah. And thus far, I don't even know if he's got the permission to make the decisions right now. There's all these rumors that the son-in-law of Vivian, right, Nick
Yeah, is it Nick?
Belcher or Blucher or whatever his name
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
the Tavistock guy, that he's the guy that has to write the checks. So you've got even more layers of pillowing of ridiculousness than you did have with Daniel Levy. At least Levy was the guy that made the decision, signed the checks, and got himself too involved. But like Vinay's the new Levy. But Vinay has to apparently go and get permission from someone who doesn't know anything about football.
But doesn't
he knows? At least Daniel Levy's been exposed to football for 25 years. And this Nick guy hasn't. He's a property dude.
I think the difficulty is this all, whichever way we look at this, whether it's transfer windows, managers, players, whatever we look at, Sean, it all points back to, does anybody know how the structure works, how the hierarchy works, who's actually in charge? You know, you've got Fabio Paratici. Why was he kept at Tottenham rather than going straight to Fiorentina for a transfer window where we didn't actually do anything that involved him? Like, what's he contributed to this transfer window? What, James Wilson? I don't believe that. What's it? Sosa was Paratici. I don't believe that.
No, these guys are young players. This is going to be Rob. This is going to be Rob McKenzie scouting and Johan Lang.
Right.
That's their MO, isn't it? That's the young stuff.
And Gallagher was one of the players that Lang approached before when he first joined Spurs. Gallagher. So again, the relationship was there with Gallagher. So again, you're looking at it going, who is pulling the strings here? And this is why I've said, I know people don't get it. This is why I've said, I'm at the stage, Sean, where I'm just deflated with the whole thing. I mentioned on my show earlier, I've been doing YouTube for 5 years. Before that, I had a podcast for 2 years, right? If you take those 7 years, I could go back further. In those 7 years, Sean, every conversation we've ever had, I don't mean just me and you, I mean on YouTube, every conversation we've all had about, who would you sign? Who would you sign? Who'd your manager be? Who'd your manager? Would you sack him? Would you sack him? What should the club do? Nothing's changed. Fundamentally, nothing in those 7 years since I've been doing this online, nothing's changed. Like, nothing's changed where I can go, well, to be fair, in the last 7 years, they've sorted out, look how good the marketing is. Look how good the academy is. Look how good the scouting is. Look how good the succession planning. We're literally saying the same thing, Sean, that we would have debated. Obviously, we were both a bit more angry back then when we first started, but we're literally having the same conversations.
Yeah.
5, 7 years later, because none of us are in the know of what is going on. And this is why in the summer, that's why I was like, okay, right. There's a new plan. There's a new structure in place. Okay, let's benefit of the doubt. Let's see what you start doing. And so far, if we break it down, what we've seen from the window shutting, what we have seen is this. We have seen the assistant manager leave. That happens. That's fine. We have seen the director of football for the senior players go back to Italy to Fiorentina.
During a transfer window.
We have seen a transfer window where we have signed 2 teenagers, one on loan, and just replaced Bentancur. They have overseen Vinay, who comes out mid-transfer window with this nonsensical ramblings about how we're going to operate and beat our wage structure whilst in a window, whilst not actually implementing what he said he's going to implement. So you look at it, this sample size of 6 months that they've had, coming up to 7 months, has not, I mean, if you were going to rate this like in a kind of A, B, C, this is like an E. This is an or an F. This is not good. This is not good at all.
Yeah, it's definitely not. I think there's always debate around what would you give the window out of 10 or whatever. I generally think this one, given the context of what was necessary, given where we're at, the kind of the jeopardy of certain bad outcomes maybe manifesting, the injury crisis, and the fact that it just looks like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. I think this one, there's not going to be anybody, I would imagine, that's going to give this window any more than a 3 out of 10, right?
I'll be honest. I think you're being generous.
But it's like top. Even the most positive fan would give it a 3 out of 10 or something.
But the key thing for any window, right, as well, isn't just the incomings. It's got to be incomings, outgoings, and what are you doing for your injury situation? And Spurs in this window haven't dealt with any of that in any way, shape, or form. Any of that.
Do you know part of the issue for me is like what I worry about is that when Vinay put out that pre-match that message in the program, and he said, "Oh, look, this is the kind of five sort of criteria of what we're looking to change, right? We have to take the opportunity to sell players at the right point in time, which is fine. I agree with that. Like if you have a player, as long as you have a plan to replace, which we don't. If you have, this idea of like raising the wage structure, cool, great, right? What I think though is that some of these donuts think that the club think that the reason why we have failed in the past and will fail in the future to get players that you want of that Semenyo type tier is simply because we weren't willing to pay the geezer what other teams were. But the second that we do, suddenly Tottenham are a big enough draw again. And as I've always said, like, yes, the wage structure is a problem. 100% it is. But just raising the wage structure when you're competing with the big 4 or 5, big 6, whatever, like you might be able to compete with the Newcastle United if both teams are willing to pay 150 grand a week or whatever, then maybe they'll pick Newcastle because the project looks better, looks more solid, stable, secure, exciting, whatever else, right? But then Newcastle can't pay those wages because their revenue isn't that big. So maybe you could be able to draw that sort of battle. You could win that battle with that team for a certain player by offering the guy 200 grand a week and Newcastle can't match it. Maybe similar sorts of stuff with like Aston Villa's, okay? If you wanted to go on that path. But it's like you're never going to be able to draw a player that also is of the eye of Manchester City or Arsenal or Liverpool or Manchester United clearly as well, and probably Chelsea, just because of you're now raising the threshold. I think this notion that raising the salary, the wage cap,
agreed.
All you're doing, by the way, is bringing it in line with what those other teams are already capable and are spending on players. You're not changing the draw. Like it's just
Sean. I've always had this argument, right? Whilst I acknowledge that Spurs' wage structure hasn't been at the levels of the big 4 or 5, we have got the best wage structure outside of that big 4 or 5 and have still signed worse than clubs like Villa and Newcastle, etc., who can't pay as much as we can. You are bang on the money there, mate. I'd love to say you're wrong, but you're bang on the money. What we do is if we bring, let's just say, first of all, this notion that it's only wages. Well, Semenyo's getting paid, 150, 160 grand a week by City. And all the other clubs, Ornstein said, all the other clubs in for him offered more than 200 grand a week. So again, it goes to show that it's not always just about the money, right? But the problem with this theory is it's all well and good saying, right, I'm just going to, Adam Wharton, for example, right? Adam Wharton's going to be wanted in the summer. Spurs, Chelsea, City, Arsenal, everyone goes in for him, right? And every club goes, all right, we can all pay 300 grand a week. I'm not saying he's going to get that. I'm just hypothetical. We're all offering him 300 grand a week, right? At that moment, where do you think Spurs are in the likelihood of signing that player? What percentage are you giving Spurs? We're bottom, right?
Bottom of the list.
We are bottom. It doesn't matter if we're paying 300, 350. Adam Wharton would not join us for 350 grand above one of those bigger clubs that are paying him 300. The 50 grand a week isn't going to swing him to do that. But so many fans just go, pay more wages. We pay big wages, right? And are lower than a lot of teams that have big wages and have been for a few years now. So for me, it all comes down to one word: scouting. It all comes down.
That's what I was going to say. 100%. Right.
Comes down to
that's the problem. All of those 5 tenets that he wants to do. Right, do better with the youth team, sell the youth team players that aren't going to make it at Tottenham to facilitate more purchases, raise the money to spend, right, do better with commercials so that we can compete with all that stuff. Great, that's all great, but it doesn't matter if you are throwing the money at the sort of players that we're going for, and at the same time you're profiling players that are never going to come. Yeah, like if they went our first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth player in every position. Includes players like Adam Wharton, includes players like Neves, includes players like Belieber. I'm sorry, like you're wasting time profiling those players. It'd be nice to be able to get one of those types of guys in, But if every time there's a player like that comes available, and they don't come available every day, it's not just the 5 teams that are bigger than you in the Premier League that want them. Real Madrid want them, Barcelona want them, Bayern Munich want them, PSG want them, whatever, right? You're not going to get it. So like, you have to sort of cut your cloth according to your means. Now, our means are fairly big, but our ability to draw these people in relative to those other teams is not there. And so, like you say, Saba, scouting is everything. It's everything.
But when I say scouting, look, there's different levels of scouting, right? Like, scouting doesn't always mean that you have to unearth a gem. It doesn't mean you have to go to the far-flung parts of the world and find an 18-year-old that no one's found. Scouting for me is, look, when Newcastle got Bruno Guimaraes from Lyon.
Yeah.
Was it Lyon? I think it came from Lyon. Right?
No, he was from that. Was it Atletico Madrid? Oh, hang on.
My brain's gone. Too many, right? Whoever Bruno Guimaraes came from, just for example.
He came from... where did he come from?
I don't know. Was it Monaco? Lyon? I'm pretty sure it was Lyon. I don't know. But
yeah,
wherever
it was Lyon.
Wherever Bruno, like, that player's out there, I'm guessing they paid about 35, 40 million for him, whatever they paid, right? And thinking, that doesn't take a lot of scouting. We're not talking about a far-flung. We're talking about Lyon. Get on the Eurostar. They're an hour away, right? What, you haven't got scouts out in France? And this is the thing for me. We talk about wages a lot. Wages for me are more for the superstars that everyone is battling for when the big clubs go in, right?
Yeah.
So when Erling Haaland becomes available, for example, when he did, everyone knew this boy was the one of the best strikers in the world, even at that age. And they all started going, right, 500 grand a week, 600 grand a week, because that's Bayern Munich, that's Man City, that's Liverpool, that's Inter, whoever it is. You're right. Spurs need to know their means. And for me, I've said this for years. We've got to stop just shouting out names of top players that we say, just go and sign him. Have a plan, buy sensibly, right? And build a squad. Yeah? Players like Conor Gallagher are fine. Good squad signing. Good player. Doesn't have to be 500 grand a week. Doesn't have to be the sexiest name. Fine. Okay.
We still paid 10 million euros more than we needed to for him, though, which is the other concerning thing.
Sure.
Right? Like these owners and this new look board think, I'll just throw some more money at it and that will solve the problem. Like, you don't need to do. I'm with you 100%, Saba. Like, I genuinely think that the person in our club who needs more scrutiny than ever is Rob McKenzie. Him and his team.
Sure.
Where is he going to find, like, is that the level, right? So if you can't get a Semenyo,
you don't buy anyone.
You don't buy anyone, and let's just turn our attention to a 19-year-old from Brazil and an 18-year-old from Scotland.
Right. So, and this is the thing, right? Is bravo on this hand over here, right? Well done for going for Semenyo and showing that you're in for him. On this hand, right? You would have been told very early days by his agent that we are not priority. You would have been told that, right? Someone would have had to bring that back to the recruitment meeting and say, right, I've spoken to his agent. At the moment, he's got better offers on the table from Man City, from Arsenal, whoever it was, right? At that point, I'm asking, okay, cool. Well, let's park that for the side, right? Right? Let's park that for one side. Right, where else are we going with this? Who are our other options?
Exactly.
Right? And I know people in the chat are saying, but Villa and Newcastle haven't won dick. But the point is, we're behind these clubs now. Forget whether they've won anything. We're behind.
Newcastle have won something. Newcastle.
Oh, well, they did. Yeah.
They won last season in the Carabao, and they're in the semi-final this time, and they're probably out of it. But they're, and Villa probably are going to go and do what we did, and they'll win the Europa League this year. So,
But the thing is, the reason I use those two clubs, Sean, is because there's no point me using City and Arsenal right now as a barometer. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
We are so far away from there. And again, I've said this for a long time. I don't think a lot of people are actually realizing how much those teams are coming up, Sean, and we're going down, right? And the problem is, at some point, you level out. Now, that can be solved with some really good signings. Of course, that can be solved with that. But the problem is, it's not going to be solved if 2 in every 3 players you buy are kids. because you're constantly going, well, in 2 years, he'll be good. In 3 years, he'll be good.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
And that's what I don't think Newcastle and Villa have done.
The time it takes for these kids to turn up and to become consistent. I think the Premier League is such a strongly competitive and physical place that it's almost not the right place for an 18-year-old or 19-year-old unless you're an exceptional type of kid and an exceptional shape and physique and can handle that sort of, it's taking time. Archie Gray, I don't think he's anything near the level that I think most fans would have hoped he was going to be at a year and a half after a 40 million pound move when he was 17, 40 million euro move, whatever. Same with Bergvall, like he has good moments and bad moments. But I think that kind of runway, that time for these kids to come in and then become ever present for even the top end of it, like it's too long. And so you're constantly chasing your tail, always refacilitating additional signings because you don't have that pathway, that plan for how do they get up to speed in real time without having to learn on the job. You can't have people learning on the job in your own first team. And the loans that we seem to pick are always to a lower standard. Apart from Vuskovic. Listen, let me ask you this, right? Because obviously we are where we are. We've got 22 minutes until the window shuts. No one else is coming in for Tottenham, clearly, unless there's a miracle. On the other hand, right, is there any argument here where the Tottenham board are sitting there kind of going, look, we're not going to get relegated. We've got enough about us to get away. Like West Ham, Burnley and Wolves aren't probably good enough to be able to outperform 4 wins than whatever we do. So, it's going to be tough. But at the same time, January is a very difficult window. We're not even sure if Thomas Frank is the guy. If Thomas Frank is saying no to certain players, then for me, like I say, more fool him because I think his job, he'll perish at the football club as a consequence of not being less picky. Sometimes you need to like just, you can't always get what you want. So if you can't, was it love the one you have or have the one you love or whatever?
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering whether or not the board are sitting there thinking that this season is a bit of a write-off. We probably shouldn't go. We probably won't go down. We're probably not going to get past the quarterfinals of the Champions League. But in the summer, there is a monster budget. There'll be whatever there could have been in January, 100 million quid. But you put that together with whatever's in the summer. I know it's always kicking the can, but I'm just saying, is that possibly part of the conversation?
Do you know what I said earlier on my show? I sound like box office when I say that. Do you know what I said earlier on my channel? Right? I am waiting for this sequence of events to happen in the next 2 months, Sean. Next week, Spurs will do a sit down with Lang, and he will talk to us about how good this window's been because we've been chasing Sosa for months and we're so happy to have beaten loads of clubs. Gallagher is one we've wanted for ages, so we're so happy. That will be the first part of it. Then a month later, we'll get something from Vinay, won't we? We'll get something from Vinay about how the first year's been and what we're looking to do. Then we'll start getting the Matt Laws, who's the guy at TalkSport, or we'll start getting him. We'll start getting Ben Jacobs. They'll all start putting out a couple of big names that Spurs want in the summer, and they'll start talking about this war chest in the summer. We all go, oh my God, it's going to be a big summer. We get to the summer and it will be, oh, but it's a World Cup. But what we want isn't available till the World Cup ends. It's not their fault. I agree with you in theory that that's probably what they're doing. But how many years can we keep pushing this down the road? Because we didn't get what we needed in the summer, right? To not get any of that again in this window means you're now 2 windows down the line where that's not happened with these owners. We've now not replaced Son for a minimum of a year. So if we get a proper left winger in the summer, that's been a year without replacing Son, right? We've now not replaced Brennan Johnson. You can't
even call it a rebuild year, can you? Because we didn't rebuild anything.
We're not rebuilding anything.
Like, how many years do we get in our life, mate? So 1.5% of my life, if I live to 80, is this season that's just finished. Or it's about to this season, right? And it's just been a complete waste of fucking time. Complete waste of time. But I've stopped going to the games, mate. I've stopped going to the games. I can't justify the time it takes to get there, the time it takes to get back, the amount of money it costs to go. I don't even sell the ticket because I can't sell it because no one wants to buy it. And I don't enjoy going to the football club anymore. And it begs the question, mate. Like you say, how much longer can we go before we can, say enough's enough? I've got to ask you, just before you came on, I was talking about, the protest, right? Change for Tottenham. They're trying their best, but despite all of the invocation of support that they get on Twitter and online on YouTube, and every time I do a poll, 85, 88% of people that watch this and watch yours and watch, all the different channels, they all say ENIC out, ENIC are the problem. And yet every single time they try to do something at the stadium, it's a damp squib. And I don't know I can't for the life of me figure out what the solution would be, apart from that they need to find a way to sort of to test how serious the people online are. Even if you can't go to the game, but you really think that the owners are the problem, would you subscribe to a £10 a year so that money can get put? If you get 10,000 people online that live in Timbuktu or Turkey or Tenerife or wherever else, and they go, yeah, you know what? Use this money. And as long as it's transparent how they spend it, 10,000 people put a tenner in, 100 grand, that money can go towards marketing, to flyers, to scarves, to banners, to tifos. It can go to getting advertising on TV or radio, whatever. It can be generated. But I just, without that, if it's just same attempts every time, let's just go again. Let's try and protest next week. Try and protest the week after. Unless it's visual and visceral at the stadium, I don't think the owners think that there's any threat.
No. It's a really difficult one, because look, hats off to like Billy T and those boys for trying to make something happen. But if it's not working, I think you've got to start looking at different ways that you can make it work. And it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because what you see online isn't always representative of what actually happens on the day at the stadium. And that begs the question. Right?
Never is.
It begs the question. You are going to have people online that never go. So they can all, and I was one of them, I've been going recently, but that never go, right? Now we can all sit online and go, ENIC out, everyone in. That's fine, right? That's fine. But if you never go, you're not actually affecting what happens in the stadium. You then get the people online that also go, right? Now, I think that that's the minority. I don't know this. This isn't facts, only my feeling. I feel this is a minority. And that's why when I'm at the stadium, I'm not seeing the same or hearing the same kind of vitriol that I see online.
Same.
And I think that was shown yesterday, right? Like for example, I thought there was going to be a walkout in the 75th minute. I actually, as you know, I walked out in the 45th minute because I thought it was disgusting. I thought, well, we're walking out on the 75th minute anyway, right? Then you get people online that mock you for that. You walked out. It's like, oh, hang on, isn't this what people wanted? Didn't people want a walk? Didn't people want there to be a
exactly.
So, but then on the 75th minute, you're watching the game. It's 4 minutes after Solanke's scorpion kick.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right?
No
Spurs
one's going
with the ascendancy.
Yeah, no one's going.
At that moment, are people could now? No one who sets the protest can know this, but you've got to start asking the question: how do you get out to the people that aren't just online? So there's a lot of people, right? I can tell the people online when I go into the pub in Tottenham. Those that are online always go, "All right, Sava, are you Sava?" From those who don't watch it, don't have a fucking clue. You're just another football fan, right? So there's so many people going to the games that they're not in that mindset. The question is, how can you reach them? How can you gauge from them? Is this just something you've always done on a Saturday, for example, that is part of your life and you don't really care about the owners? It's, you win, lose or draw. It is what it is. Yeah. Because most of the vitriol seems to be coming from YouTube.
100%. And Twitter.
X, and a lot of people from overseas as well that say, yeah, well, if I was there, I'd do this. It's easy to say that, but there's so many people that are in this country that don't. So
well, that's why I mean, like, I think that a real test of, because it's easy to say that, right? It's easy to get angry on Twitter. It's easy to get angry on YouTube. I think a real litmus test would be to say, look, we're going to try and do some fundraising, and don't think any of it's going to any of the people. There's no scams going on here, because it will be a not-for-profit or one of those community action companies or whatever, where, you have very strict rules around where the money goes, and you have to show on the website all of the kind of receipts for everything. And so it's just going to be used to get more scarves and to hand them out outside the stadium to members. You get a free scarf if you become a member of the Change for Tottenham thing or whatever, and it costs £10, whatever it looks like. And then see, because I genuinely think that, like you said, Saba, it's very easy to sit there and say ENIC out, but if the way to make that manifest into reality is a more visceral and visual representation of the frustration, which yellow and black or yellow and gold or yellow and purple, whatever the colors were, that stuff is all, it's good. It's good imagery, right? But you need obviously to have people that are doing that. And I think that those things require money. You know, if you want to win an election, it doesn't matter how cool you are in the pub with all of your political, you know, thought processes. But if you, and people go, oh, you should be prime minister, love what you say. Okay, well, how do I get my message to 1,000 people locally, to 10,000 people in my local county, to the whole nation? Money, 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 right? The more money you have, the more you can expand your message. And that's why I think for two reasons, that would be the next step that they should engage with. One, because it will test to see if people really feel the way that they say they feel. Are you willing to support in that regard? And obviously the overseas fans would be able to do it that way. And two would be, obviously the money can actually create versions and options in which to let the club know that there's more people than just a handful of noisy people online that feel a certain way. And if it turns out that no one wants to, or very few people want to put £10 in, you know, then I think that just goes to show that it's just a lot of noisy people that don't really mean what when it push comes to shove, they don't really mean it.
Do you know where I am with all this? And I've sat on both sides of the fence of this. You know, my view for the last 4 or 5 years has very much been, I don't think protests work. Now, I've not seen anything I've not seen anything in the last couple of games I've gone to where protests are meant to be happening that changes my mind that this does work. But for me, I think it needs to be something that needs to be planned for months. I don't think this can be, I don't think this can be planning it on the Monday and the game's on the Saturday. I don't think it can be that. I think it needs to be really well thought out, really well planned. But again, you've got to find out how many of the people that are actually going to the stadium and spending their money in the stadium actually feel as strongly as other people that do. Yeah. And from what I've seen at Spurs, I've not seen that. So a lot of the vitriol in the stand where I was sitting, and obviously I was in the south stand the last couple of games. Thank you, Johnny. Right.
Everyone Johnny's selling his tickets. Johnny's always got a buyer for his tickets to get. I can't sell mine, but Johnny's always got a buyer.
But, you know, you've got to look at it that a lot of the people that are going there, I don't think are the same people that are on YouTube. And a lot of the vitriol in the stands is very much aimed at one man, and that's the manager.
The manager.
And the thing is, for the protest to work, I think, first of all, people would have to recognize that it's ENIC. And I don't hear, when I'm in the stand, I don't hear one ENIC out. When I'm in the pub, I'm not hearing ENIC out. I'm not hearing this from anybody. Online, I'm hearing it. I'm seeing it, right? Yeah. But in the stadium, I'm not seeing. Someone stood up behind me yesterday and went, "Get Frank out. He's killing this club." And the guy next to him turned around and he went, "Yeah, nothing to do with ENIC, mate." And you're thinking, yeah, that, like, yes, if more people get, but no one cares. And that is why, unless...
It's the best bait and switch ever, Saba. What they did, I thought it was shameless. I thought it was shameless the way that they threw him under the bus, and then they said it's the new, the whole PR spin of all of them, right? The majority owners, like trying to whitewash Levy from the football club and pretend like if Vivian and Charlie really wanted what was best for football, for Tottenham Hotspur over the last 25 years, at any point in time, they could have asked Daddy for 100 million quid. They didn't. They didn't do any of that shit, right? The whitewashing and the rewriting of history was so shameless, I couldn't stand it. And it made me go, you know what? I was never ENIC out. I certainly wasn't Levy out. I'm not ENIC in or ENIC out. I didn't care. Like, new owner's fine as long as I see the plan. But as far as Daniel Levy goes, my defense of him was usually because I just thought he got a really hard hit from people like the man next to me. Welcome, Lubo, by the way. Dude, you have to ask before you just let yourself in, mate. It's not... you just let yourself into my channel.
Sean, you let me in.
But I can't just leave you down there, can I? You just text me. Just text me, Sean. Can I come on? You're always welcome.
I'll text you next time.
But yeah, I defended Daniel Levy, but never the owners, right? But when I saw what happened in the summer or September, I was like, fuck these guys. This is bullshit. And it made me spin the other way. But to be fair to them, I think they have played a blinder in pulling the wool over the eyes of the average fan who goes to the game, because there was a period last season, Saba, where there were people in the stadium that were singing, Daniel Levy, get out of our club. It was about him. It wasn't ENIC. It was about him. And then he's gone. Nothing's changed. The owners are the same. It's the same people, same business, same whatever. And yet now the vitriol is all on Thomas Frank because Levy's no longer here. So they have played as much as I find it deplorable, they have played a blinder.
Do you know what someone said to me yesterday, just quickly before Lubo comes in? Somebody said to me yesterday, and I've heard it before, that this is the equivalent of, like in Stranger Things, blaming everything on the Demogorgon, but not actually realizing that it goes above that, and you need to get to Vecna. Like, we've killed the Demogorgon, yeah, but that's not the person pulling the strings, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to get to Vecna's lair.
One level.
I'll be
higher.
1 minute.
No worries, mate. How you doing, Lubo? You all right, mate?
Yeah. What a joke. What a shambles, eh?
Mate, we've got 8 minutes. 8 minutes. Any chance of a bomber? Oh, for what it's worth, just quickly, for those of you who thought that we'd got one over on Arsenal.
Yeah.
So, where is it? Arsenal. Where is it here? Where is it? Hang on. A few minutes ago, it was. Here we go. So we thought we'd got this guy James Wilson ahead of Arsenal. Nah, Arsenal have just gone and agreed a deal to sign England under 19 international Jaden Dixon on a 4-year deal. Deal completed for 3.2 plus add-ons. Arsenal view the player as a massive signing, beating several clubs to his signature. I mean, but this is I got no problem. Like, good for Arsenal, right? Their first team is basically complete, and now they're pivoting towards the future. Tottenham are signing players for tomorrow before they've got their players for today.
Well, all we've done, in effect, if you talk about numbers, Sean, we sold Johnson and we got Gallagher, and Mason Media has now come in along with Sousa and Wilson from Hearts. So all we've done is buy 3 teenagers. For me, that's the only difference to the squad. You got 1 in, 1 out, and 3 kids. It's a joke. Absolute farce. Do you know what?
And 8 injuries.
Yeah, if I must tell you something, if this Booch has got anything about him, then Lang and McKenzie will be gone very quickly. They have got to go. They have failed this club. Do you know what? They had 4 months, plus 4 months from September the 1st to New Year's Eve to prepare. They've had the whole of this month as well. 5 months. 5 months.
154 days to be exact, Lubo, since the last transfer window shut.
What a farce. That's 22 weeks, 5 months. What an
Johan Lang, is there any point in, obviously you could make the argument, well, look, you're sacking him tomorrow, but there's nothing anyone else can do until the summer anyway, but you might as well sack him, right? Because I don't know, like, what more value is he going to provide between now and the summer? I know he's the director of football or whatever, but like, I mean,
absolute waste of time. Are you telling me they couldn't have got 1 or 2 more players on the same level as Gallagher? It's just a farce. The whole thing is an absolute farce. It's a shambles there. This is a big club behaving like Mickey Mouse. I've got to tell you, they are a farce. They should go. And the shiny toy, forget the shiny toy, Lewis kids. Go back to the people that offered you money, do a deal, and sell this club and get the hell out of there. The whole lot of them should go. Absolute farce.
Yeah, but would you right now? Would you take anyone but the ENIC?
Well,
we don't know anything about Wing Fi NG. We don't know anything about. I mean, obviously, my mate Brooklyn Eric. Talking to him on DMs and that. Just letting saying I run in high profile places these days.
Sean is the IT. I keep telling you, the IT.
Sean's bypassing everyone and going to the billionaires these days. He's going straight to the billionaires, mate.
I actually left him on red. He sent me the last message, and I went. I just left him on red. I think I gave him a thumbs up rather than, because probably billionaires are used to people going, oh, thanks for coming back to me. Now I just went, cheers. I just gave him the thumbs up.
But Sean, can we do it? In 154 days, which it is, right? 154 days since the window shut, right? The summer window. In all of that time, the only one that was planned to bring in that they've managed to land is Sosa from Brazil. Like that is 5 months worth of work. This is their job. If you or I in our day jobs acted like this, and in 5 months I went, boss, look at my sales, I've managed to do this. They go, what?
Yeah. You've been earning how much money for the last year?
Yeah.
And what you brought in a £300 sale. That's it. Get out. You'd be out on your ear, wouldn't you? And this is what Rob McKenzie and Johan Lang. And listen, Paratici, by the way, I don't want anybody ever talking fondly about Paratici ever again. That geezer has fucked us over so violently in the last 3 months. Anyway. It was crap anyway, but he's done us so dirty. So he's done us so dirty, leaving us in the middle of a window. He clearly wasn't focused at all. It's not like that those conversations happened, in late December and then suddenly he was going. He's obviously been talking to them for months. And his entire mindset has been on figuring out who Fiorentina need to buy, not who Tottenham need to buy. It's an absolute.
Why did he stay? Like, they said he'd stayed, right? Like Lubo, they said he'd stayed, right, to help us navigate this window. Since that statement come out, we haven't signed anyone. Like, what are we doing? No. What are we doing?
Do you know what? I just look at how this club used to be and how it is now, and it has dipped so much. It's just dropped. It's not the club I used to know. No. Nothing like it.
Or the club I used to know.
Awful.
And I'm not as old as you, Lubo. As we discovered yesterday. I can't remember which player we were talking about, but he was like, yeah, I'm not old enough to remember that player. But mate, I don't even the thing with it is, I said to Sean earlier in the show, I wasn't expecting, as you know, Luke, but we speak most days. I wasn't expecting a window where we go, oh my God, look at this. We brought in 4 or 5 top players. But I was expecting something, not just, we've replaced Bentancur. Like, we sold Brennan Johnson and Kudus went down. Those 2 things happened on the 2nd of January and the 4th of January. That's nearly 30 days ago that those 2 things happened. And they've not managed to find a right or left winger that is better than the ones we've got in all of that time, plus the 4 months they had to scout. This is truly atrocious.
I know. By the way, I must say...
30 seconds left, guys. 30 seconds left. I'm just waiting for that.
Very quickly. We'll talk.
Well, according to Sky Sports, it's 43 seconds, so I'm hanging on a bit longer than you, mate.
well, I'm sure we'll discuss it in an hour or so with Stell, but I've got to tell you, I think you should get Change for Spurs Fan of the Year, because you didn't wait for 75 minutes. You went on 45.
Yeah. And then he got criticised. And then he got criticised for leaving. By the way, he should absolutely. I was laughing at Saver earlier. I was saying to him, mate, every single time I see him going to Tottenham, most people turn up wearing a hoodie, like a hat, a woolly hat, a nice warm jacket. Saver gets an Uber Black XL from wherever he lives to Tottenham. Comes out like he's going out on a dance, going out with the birds later on or whatever. And I was like, mate, you're dressed up to the nines to go to Tottenham. And Sam was like, yeah, but only because I didn't know if maybe there was going to be a night out afterwards.
No, he was the smartest one in the 8 bar, I've got to tell you so. By a mile.
There's a phrase that my dad always taught where you go, Sean, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. And I was saying to Sav earlier, Sav dresses for the night out he might have, not the one he does.
That's what Sean always turns up like the milkman.
Sure. I looked at the phone, and Sav was Solanke had just equalised. I looked at the phone, and I saw Sav's message saying that he got to the pub and a picture of him in the pub. I just sent him a text back, stay there, mate.
Yeah, I'm a good luck. Do you know what? It's like when I go on holiday, Spurs tend to buy players. Whenever I go on holiday, Spurs sign players.
That's
right. And when I left, they but yeah, the window is now officially closed. Listen, I'm going to put it out there, right? This is the worst transfer window I've seen in 20 years.
Yeah. Well, not quite as bad as the 2 or the 3 that they didn't buy anybody.
But Lubo, context,
did they, for 520 days?
But the context in those two windows where we didn't buy anyone, you still had a brilliant 11 out on the pitch, right? Right now, we're going, right, sorry, are we going to replace Son? No, don't want to do that for 2 windows in a row. Are we going to replace Kudus and Johnson? No, don't want that either. Are we going to get a left back? No, we don't want that. No. For me, this has been one of the worst window I can think of for 20 years contextually. New owners, if you will. All the talk about how much money was being put in and the wages being risen, and they want footballing success. When you put all of that together with 13 first-team players injured, sitting in the bottom half of the table, contextually, this is the worst transfer window I've seen at Tottenham Hotspur.
And I'm going to say,
apart from maybe the one where there was the 589 days where there was no transfer window. Does that compete?
that was the
Yeah,
start
I
of
just
the-
said, but at least then we had Kane, Son, Ali, Ericsson,
Do you know what? That was the time, 2017, when we were at our highest, and they didn't build on, and they didn't build on it. They didn't build on it, and the decline started there, Sav. Decline because the team that played in Madrid in the Champions League final were on the decline from 2017 when we finished.
Yeah, but there was context. There was context to that one, which I'm not defending it, but there is context that people overlook around the amount of money that was taken out of the club. I know Lubo's going to return with we overspent by 500 million on the stadium. Don't want to get into the history books, but like the context of the reason, at least some of the rationale for the 500 days or whatever was because of the $1 billion of debt. My point being, not to get into the history, but my point being that there is no excuse for this window. None.
I've got to go. I'll see you guys for Spurs 5 in an hour. I'm going to treat myself to a peanut butter sandwich, and I'm going to enjoy this transfer window thoroughly. And somebody in the chat has got it absolutely bang on. Ian Harding at 7:03 has said it's now not negligence. This is sabotage.
Wow.
Bang on. See you later. I'll see you in an hour.
Cheers, Sav. Take care, mate.
Oh, my wife just walks past and says, "You mean sabotage?" I mean, like that. What do you do?
That's a thumbnail right there, Sava. At some point, sabotage. Yeah.
No, because I'll get the blame. I'll get the blame for it. See you later. See you
later. Mate. See you, buddy. Superb.
Oh dear.
Yeah, listen, absolutely. We're only going to go for maybe a couple of minutes, 10 more minutes longer because I need a shower. I haven't had a shower today. Do you know, mate? I've fucked up completely. I let my W8BEN form expire, right? Yeah. And when you get paid by YouTube, you get paid obviously via an American company, so you have to let them know you've got you in the UK, and then otherwise they take 30%. So
what is that form, Sean?
It's a withholding tax form. So basically, it says like if you're getting paid by an American company, then they're going to keep 30% of it from your earnings over there, unless you have a form that says that you're part of a country that has a double tax treaty. And obviously, everyone needs one if you have any money that comes in from overseas. And mine expired. And so in the most recent pay, I've just paid you lot out from Spurs 5 and all that stuff. 30% of the total money has been withheld. I've now got to wait like 9 months and then go and speak to the IRS. It's a fucking nightmare. Anyway, let me quickly do some super chiddly chit chats. Big up to Rob Brown. Thank you very much, Rob. He says, "What's the odds Sterling comes in after the window closes, assuming he hasn't already rejected us?" Big up Sava and Sean. Sorry, I didn't. This was 45 minutes ago, mate. Obviously, the probable story on that one now is 0. We are Dunsky, unless there's going to be some announcement that Tottenham got a deal done in principle, but they've got a few hours to get the medical done. But it's not happening. Our window is done. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. Big up to you, Rob. I hope you're okay, mate. Thanks very much. Simon Gibbs says, "Can't we at least recall our loans?" Not anymore. I think you have to give them like due notice or something. So yeah, Vuskovic, Mikey Moore, all those guys are staying out there. I genuinely if the football club are sitting there going, "We'll be okay. We'll be okay. It wasn't worth overpaying for a player, or it wasn't worth bringing in somebody." Again, that's what loans are for, though, right? If you can't get I'm more than happy for the club to sit there and say, "You know what? We couldn't get who we wanted. We wanted Yan Diamandi." Even though that guy's never going to come to Tottenham in the summer either. He's going to be wanted by bigger teams. But the profiling's obviously all wrong. But either way, if you're not sure about the ones that you can get, then don't commit. But that's where you go and do a loan deal, right? That's where you go and pay £3 million to Atalanta and say, "Give us Lookman for 6 months, and then we'll go from there." Or whoever, go to a team that doesn't really have the threat of relegation or the threat of European football in whatever league, and go and get one of their best players and say, can we give you a really juicy loan fee? We need him for the next 6 months. But we didn't do anything. Big up to you, Simon. Destiny, big up to Desto. He said, imagine Butler and Sava on the board. Don't know, mate. Don't know about that. I don't know. Do you really want a bloke who drinks 3 or 4 bottles of cider every day doing the Tottenham's Lord's work? I don't know. And that's not, I'm not talking about me, not Sava. Sava goes out for a Turkish barber haircut every 5 minutes. He wouldn't get any work done either. Bourbon Buzzard says, if ENIC sold you a lollipop, they'd want the stick back. Big up to you, mate. Appreciate you. Josh said, so ashamed most of our fans don't see the problem. Well, I think that's the match-going fans don't. I guess we're going to have to talk about it again, but I'm not going to get into an argument tonight like I did on Monday's show or Thursday's show. But once again, Lubo, but let me just get these and I'll ask you, let me just finish these and I'll ask your opinion. Big up to you, Josh. Thank you very much. Dean Chudini's in the house. Big up to Chew. Chew to you, Dean. I appreciate you, my man. Always here, always supporting every time. Bears Cave says, remember the year the FA tried to dock us 12 points and suspend us from the FA Cup? I will take the club we have today. What year was that?
That was Alan Sugar, 1991. Sugar fought it and got I think the 12 points were knocked off. I think we finished up with a fine. I think it was negligible what we finished up with, but Sugar fought it.
Was that because we got ourselves in financial disarray?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's before before I started supporting Spurs. But I've heard the stories about Scholar. Sorry. Big up to you, my man in Woking. Big up to you, buddy. And Eamon O'Shea. Big up to you, Eamon, mate. Appreciate you, man. It's nice message you sent me earlier on, mate, on Twitter. Big up to you, buddy. Big up to you. He says Sterling can be signed. He is a free agent. Oh. Well, can be signed any? Of course he can. He can be signed at any time. Can't you? Can sign a free agent any time, can't you?
Sure.
Imagine though, mate. Imagine. That would even be more embarrassing. I think it's just such a sign of desperation. Big up to you, Eamon. Appreciate you, my man. What was I going to ask you then, Lubo? What was
it about the owners?
No, it was about. I can't remember. Was the
protest? Was it about people that protest or don't want to protest? Was it?
What did you think of it? Did you go to the protest yesterday? Did you go outside the South Stand at all?
Well, Sam and I walked out with Ellie about 2:05. Sorry, 2:05. About 4:05. 4 minutes past 4. And it didn't seem to be anything going on. It was just fans that were just walking towards the ground.
Yeah, I think the organised place was, the South Stand, the kind of like open area outside the South Stand. I think that was where it was supposed to be. But I haven't seen any videos or footage or anything. So once again, I don't know. That's the other thing. Like like I say, I love Billy. I think Billy is a super intelligent guy, super articulate, a great face of the organisation. Yes. He does a brilliant job getting around, and I think he's a top guy, right? An absolute top guy. I don't know the other 9. I've met 1 or 2 of them here and there, but I do think that like if there's been a few different circumstances, or a few different like times now where they've arranged things and then they haven't even most of them haven't been there themselves, Yeah. And so, I don't know. I'm not sure it's a great look, right? If you have to, talking online is one thing, but you have to make it to the protests, and you have to sort of stand there and be loud and be noisy. You have to sort of, how do I say this? You generate the energy in which you want other people to represent, right?
Yeah, but you've got to time the marches to get maximum impact.
Yeah.
So that the timing of the marches has to be absolutely spot on. Otherwise, you're going to fall short. And I think they are lacking. I'm not putting myself forward. I did offer to help them right at the start. They need somebody who is probably a lot better than me at marketing. I've been in selling. I haven't been in marketing. They need someone who understands the club as well. Just gets a feel for the whole thing. Just understands everything about Spurs why they're protesting, why the protests are important, and how to get as many people on board as possible. And that's, we started discussing this on your show yesterday, Sean, about subscriptions, about getting people in, about having money there to actually have the choice of what to do. To promote.
Yeah, but I feel like what it should probably be. I was thinking about this last night. Like, I feel like if because there's two benefits, right? One is you actually get to gauge how serious the people are that say that they're serious, that can't be there. I'd be there if I could, but I can't. I live in Timbuktu or whatever else. Cool. Okay. Have a membership. We can send you a poster. We can send you a fucking, an annual letter. We can send you a scarf, whatever, right? And you can kind of get economies of scale. If you're buying 10,000 scarves from you get them at like 30 pence each from China rather than £5 each. That's all those sorts of things, right? You can figure all that stuff out. But I genuinely, so obviously that the money, if it does manifest, if you're asking for a tenner a year or something like that, 15 quid a year, whatever, and 10,000 people turn up and go, yep, bang, let's do it, then you've got a lot of money that you can go and put to work. Great.
Listen, the trust.
It also is a great filter to gauge whether people really are what they say they are, how they feel, if they really mean it. I know £10 is a lot of money to some people. I get that. And £10 in certain countries is like a month's salary. So I totally understand it's not always that simple. But if you put that out there, and every time Change for Tottenham put a tweet out that gets 1,000 likes and 1,000 retweets and all this stuff. So there's obviously like this kind of appearance of support. But the reality is the match-going fans don't seem to represent that, right? So if you put that out and say, look, we need to see whether we need help, we need money to be able to put these things into play. And then if they do it and you get the same 1,000 likes, the same 1,000 retweets, but actually only 100 people sign up to your membership, it just goes to show you that there's not really talk is cheap and everyone's on Twitter and there could be bots involved. You don't know, right? But like it could, like, and unless people you could just use that as an experiment and basically say that, unless we get over 1,000 members, we'll refund everybody. And then we'll just put the whole thing to bed, sort of thing, Yeah,
I think there isn't, for whatever reason, it could be lack of preparation, could be lack of marketing, could be any number of reasons. There isn't the hunger for people to demonstrate and protest against the ownership at this moment in time. And that's proven by the numbers. And yesterday you were always going to, whatever hopes they had of people walking out on 75 minutes, there's always going to be that risk that the team are doing well. People don't want to leave the game. They're not.
Yeah, the walkout thing's silly. I think
that was never going to happen.
A sit-in is more visceral, right? A sit-in afterwards, after the game.
Sure.
For half an hour.
I've seen that before.
Yeah, a sit-in works. Asking people to leave the game they spent £100 going to.
Sure.
First and foremost, that's going to be a difficult push. Second of all, depending on the game state, it's not. That's you're influenced then by like you said. We got the equalizer 3 minutes earlier. No one's leaving.
Sure. So
or you do or you say get into the stadium, get into your seat half an hour or 45 minutes early, or an hour early, like sort of, and everyone move around to the south, whatever. But I don't know. For me, I think the next call for them should really be to set up an official organisation, a not-for-profit or a community interest, or whatever they're called, CIOs, community interest thing.
Sure. I mean, this
and then see what the actual real taste for it is, because I'd like to see myself whether there's really 10,000 people that, or 1,000 people or whatever that that would support it. And if there isn't, then I think it's just a lot of noisy people on the internet that are unhappy. But in reality, the owners aren't going to go anywhere until they're ready anyway.
No, I mean, this was planned last Monday. This came out in the media last Monday, and the saying, "Fail to prepare, prepare to fail." So, and unfortunately, that's happened. And Billy should be the face. They've got to have people in there who understand, who know how to maximise protests. At the moment, it's a few fans that are pissed off, but nobody seems to have the wherewithal of reading the room.
They probably need someone in there that has. I've got no idea who the backgrounds of anyone else on there, but they probably need people who have some experience in community project would be a good thing first and foremost, and probably also some experience in PR or marketing to know the best ways to get your bang for your buck and get your message out. Also, some people that have connections to the various media companies.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they all bring their own. I don't know who they are, but I'm sure they all bring their own value. I'm sure they all bring their own skill sets, and they certainly bring their own passion. But if you're trying to start a movement and make it amplified, get it going and make it a success, you probably do need people with key core competencies and key skills.
Sure.
And so, if they don't have them, then they should probably reach out to people and see if anybody who is an Levy an ENIC outer, if any of those people are out there that actually work within certain industries or whatever that can actually bring value that's specific to their outcomes. Because at the moment, I just feel like the more attempts that seem to fail, I think the more that the organization looks like it's diluting its value every time they try.
They should have left it. They should have left it after the two where they got substantial numbers and said, right, this is a big uplift from the usual 50 to 100 that Brian and Estelle were getting. This has been organised. There've been a lot more people that have come. Got to find out from those people why they came, as against not turning up previously, and understanding why you've got a jump from 50 to 100 up to 1,500, 2,000, 2.5. If you understand that and you know why people are there, you've got an idea and you can build on it. You understand your audience. You understand the people that are responding. So, and that didn't happen. And then they moved on like 5 weeks later from the Southampton one for the Palace game, which was 10 days before Bilbao and 3 days after we won in Bodo.
Yeah.
So who's going to turn up at a protest 3 days after we've reached the European final?
Well, that's the thing, though, right? But if you're, again, like that same sort of narrative works both ways. If you're planning something because you genuinely believe that the majority of people, and again, this comes back to what my initial concern, or when I had Billy on the first time on the channel, and I sort of grilled him a little bit.
I watched it, Sean. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a fair discussion. I said, look, your manifesto is on your website, and it says you ultimately want new owners, but you're also at the same time sort of suggesting it's change can mean anything to anyone. So anybody that is just slightly disgruntled and wants better, they're part of us as well. When in reality, they're not. And obviously, recently, the one that they on their banners for the one yesterday, they were saying we're singing ENIC out songs. We want these owners out. So sort of the kind of mask fell a little bit for me.
Sure.
And I feel like if you are trying to, bait and switch people into thinking it can mean anything to anyone, but you're only really doing that in order to try to make your ENIC out message look like it's more popular than it is, that's a little bit disingenuous, which is what I said to him at the time. And he understood where I was coming from, but that really wasn't their intentions, which is fine and reasonable. But again, if you are trying to, I think if you believe that ENIC out are the problem, and you think that most people really feel that way, which again is what Stell suggested, and I know you guys have slightly different takes on it, but that's that kind of, most people are ENIC out, they're just not willing to do the protesting, which I don't necessarily see that logic. But you shouldn't really be utilizing moments in time to try to manifest reaction. Like, if you believe that there's as many people as you hope there are that feel that way, then you should pick a date, and those numbers should be there regardless of whether you won the game before or you lost the 3 matches before, whether you had a good window or a bad window. It shouldn't be about snapshots in time and the temperament in any particular moment. You should book a date months in advance and say, if you think these are the owners of the problem, then regardless of the situation as we approach that date, you should be here. And if it's not that way, then you know that the fan base is they'll just move their appetite whenever the wind changes direction.
But if you've got a customer base, and you've got and you understand why people have turned up. If X amount of people are fed up with Ange and they've turned up because they're Postecoglou out, I'm talking about last season now, and we've got to the final then those people aren't going to turn up 10 days before a final. Because
that's my point, though, right? If the change for Tottenham thing needs to stop being change for Tottenham,
you need
to go back to ENIC out.
Absolutely. So the people that want ENIC out are the people that will turn up.
Yeah, and those people won't change their opinion based on what happened last weekend.
Correct. Because that's the macro, and the football side is day-to-day is the micro.
100%.
So that's right.
But I think if they do that, you'll see that the numbers will drop even more.
Well, we've seen it, haven't we? We've seen it, unfortunately, but we've seen it, and I think they've got to go back to the drawing board, and they've got to relook at the whole thing now, based on the last couple of weeks. So,
yeah,
there you go. Anyway, listen, you want to get off? We've got a show.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realise it's 7:20. So there you go, guys. The window finishes with an absolute damp squib.
Yeah,
absolute shocker. I'm looking forward to the chat. We've got Sava, Lubo, and Stella, and myself. Johnny's on his holly pops. If you are watching this on Spurs Talk Show, please don't forget, please go over and give a like on Football Inc. The link will have been in there. Stream Elements would have been putting the links up because we're streaming to both channels. Don't forget, OK Jersey, you can get 8% off using code Sean. You can also get 8% off using code Think. So if Johnny's your flavour, then go and use code Think and or code Sean. Obviously, you can use code 5 as well, Spurs 5, but we'll talk about that later. Big up to you, Lubo. I want to say a massive thank you once again to everyone for for this. Oh, we got another super chat. Jesus, I didn't see that. Sorry. Tim Man says, considering where we are in the league, the injuries and the decision to stick with Frank, this is probably the worst window I can remember. ENIC are a disgrace. Can I ask you one last quick question, Lubo? Super quick. Is there again, just hypothetical. I'm not suggesting this is the case, but just hypothetical. If ENIC did give over 100 million quid, that 100 million quid capital, right? And they went, go on then, boys. There's your money. More behind it, which is what we were told when you need it. And they handed it over to Thomas Frank and Vinay, etc. And then between the 4 or 5 of those guys, they couldn't agree on the profiles. So then they got paralysis by analysis. It has to be consensus, and there's always someone saying no, which is why we are where we are. Have ENIC done their job in as much as all you really want from ENIC is to provide the funding to be able to let the football people do the football things? I'm not saying that is the case. I'm just asking, in a world where Viv and Charlie and all those guys said, there's your 100 million quid, go and spend it how you see fit and let us know if you need some more. If that is the case, and there's been rumours that is basically what's happened, then is this an ENIC issue, the window specifically? Forget about the macro, bigger picture stuff, but just the micro of the window. If that's the case, did ENIC do their job, but the recruitment team failed with theirs?
Well, I've got a definite answer for you, Sean, because one of the things I was really pissed off with Levy was interfering and not negotiating correctly, because you're in a small pool. It's not like selling a house where estate agent selling a house where you might never see that person again. You've got to go back window after window, possibly with the same people. Yep. So if the Lewises have said, right, there's 150 million, which is the figure I think Ali Gold came out with. There's 150 million. Off you go, boys. You've had 4 months to set it all up, and another month to close the deals. If they haven't done it, then Nick Booch has got to look at that on behalf of Viv and Charlie, and he's got to say, do you know what? We got idiots. We have got people that are completely out of their depth, that are not fit for purpose in the jobs they're in.
Is that including Vinay?
Yes, 100%. 100%.
I've been so underwhelmed by him. I think he is
totally.
He comes across like a very smooth salesman who writes all the right things in the right order, make sure he doesn't like throw anyone under the bus. Whilst we believe in our squad, we know that the squad needs to be improved. I mean, it's a double entendre what he's saying there, but at least he's sort of saying, we're not saying the squad is shit, but we do acknowledge. Oh yeah, he says all the right things. He's a proper politician in his way he writes, but ultimately when push comes to shove, every tough decision that he's had to make, he's got it wrong.
And to come out with what he came out with a couple of days before the protest, to finish up like this, I think is a disgrace. I think it's a disgrace.
Listen, we'll continue the chat in half an hour, guys. Please don't forget to go over to see us on the Spurs 5. As I say, massive thank you to everyone. Big up to you, Lubo. Big up to Sava as well. Special thank you to AJ for that massive super chat. I really hope that it wasn't. I hope you're just a really wealthy guy, and 200 quid isn't isn't a problem, mate. I hope you didn't fat finger that. That's if you did, I don't know what to do because YouTube takes 100 quid and I can't press the refund. I don't know how to do it anyway. But massive thank you to you and everyone else who was super generous. Blaine, all the guys, Tim, man, you guys, everyone. Love you all. And we'll see you over on Spurs 5 in half an hour to continue the diatribe of what has been another absolutely abject performance from our football club. Love you all. Take care. Bye.